it been like working with Matt and Luke, you know, in that quarterback room and trying to figure out voices and who's communicating all that type of thing?
Yeah, no, it's. I think it's been really good. It's one of those things. Obviously, Matt drives the whole boat. The offense that we're all coming together and putting together. I think it's coming along very well. And right now, it's a fluid thing. And it's exciting to kind of see how it's going out there now that we get to practice after you have all that time meeting and talking about it. And then, you know, just the meeting room. I mean, I've got so much respect for Luke and Matt and for all three of us to be in there. And, you know, Matt and I bounce around a little bit to try to get around everybody. But I think it's really good. And I think the key thing is always going to be communication. And it's communication. As long as there's one voice, I think that's the key. And I think we're doing a really good job with that. And we just got to keep on rolling as we get to almost done with the off-season program here.
So, Nathaniel, how much time do you, Matt, and Aaron and Luke spend together, do you think?
Well, when you take it just the meetings, quite a bit, and then off when they're not here, Luke, Matt, and I are together all the time. So it's one of those things, we're together a lot, a whole bunch, and once again, it's about just trying to get everybody on the same page, so we're all speaking the same thing. If I'm not right there, or if Luke's by himself or Matt's by himself, we just always want to be saying the same thing. So I think it's been good.
I mean, what do you guys are in these meetings, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Football, you know, life, love, you know, Game of Thrones, things like that. Really, it's everything. It's funny when you put in a new system, especially with a group of guys that have been in the same system for so long. It's like you got to start from the very beginning, the foundation, the ground up. And I think that's been, you know, there's just so much that it's trying to get with the limited time that we have as much as we can get in by explaining it, not losing sight of some of that stuff in the beginning. So it's just, you know, how much can we throw at them and make sure that it sticks? So, I mean, there's so many things. It's like your time gets up and you're like, oh my gosh, we got to go over even more.
So obviously, as a play caller, you've been in that role. Like for Matt and Aaron to have those kind of meetings.
That's huge. Yeah. I mean, as much as possible, you want the quarterback, when he's out on that field, you want him to be able to anticipate the call before the calls even come in. I think that's huge. Right now, you don't have that necessarily that game plan mentality. So it's kind of, hey, this is the whole system, and we're trying to work the plays. We're trying to work the communication through the quarterback to the line, to the running backs, to the wide receivers. So there's this huge big picture. So you're trying to get all those intricacies going throughout everything. But I think right now, just watching those two guys get on the same page is so critical, because we want to be sure that Matt and Aaron, more than anybody, you know, they're thinking the exact same way.
So you're meeting with Matt. Matt's in the quarterback room. You guys are always doing that. Have you figured out kind of what your role is? I mean, I know you're meeting with them all the time, but when you're not with them, what is your primary?
I'm kind of like the organizer and the one that's trying to bring everything together and make sure that when there is communication going on, that communication is effective. I think there's one thing when somebody talks and says, or another person asks a question, the key is once that communication goes on, was what we wanted to accomplish accomplished? So it's a great position for me to be able to sit back, watch the interaction, watch how everybody is, because obviously being in the shoes that Matt is from the play calling standpoint and putting a system in, you can say, hey, did he really get that? Or did they really hear that? So I think it just makes it more efficient to try to make it so that the process of understanding the system can get there much faster.
So Nathaniel, you got here with your system, and now you've had a couple of weeks with the players. How do you think the system meshes with the talent you're watching now over the last couple of weeks?
You know, I think one of the good things about what we're doing here is it allows us to do a lot of different things. It's not just one specific thing. We know we want to obviously run the ball. We want to be a lot more balanced in that fashion. But I think it's, you know, we can fit the people to the right spots and put them in the spots that they're going to be most effective. And I think that's kind of the thing that we're still working through, but we're seeing some guys that can do some things that you're like, you get pretty excited about watching those guys catch the ball down the field and some of the play action stuff and just the drop backs, having a lot of different guys that can do a lot of different things.
You know, you had a chance to work with some pretty talented runners, whether it was Leonard or LaShawn and guys like that. Do you see some high-level traits when you look at Aaron Jones and what he did on film last year?
I'll tell you, Aaron, watching him, he's such a good slasher, and watching him, and he's got this, you know, with the outside zone stuff that we're doing, it's something that's really going to help him and make him even more effective. And then his versatility getting out of the backfield, catching the ball, lining up in some different formations. I mean, he's definitely shown up and done some good things, and I think this is going to be a good system for him.
You came here with no background in the system at all, is that correct? Or
For
you? Did you
yeah,
have any
so I
background?
wasn't in Matt's system, but a lot of the stuff that he does, we've done in the past. It's kind of everybody does a lot of the same stuff. Verbiage-wise is a little different.
Okay, so, you know, there's been so much talk about how the players are picking up. How did you pick it up? How did you learn? Because obviously you need to be an expert before you can take it to the...
No doubt. You know, I think it's everybody, all the coaches. You know, the minute you walk in, the reason why we spend all this time when we first get into an establishment is, you know, how fast can you learn it? And I think it's the same principle for the players, but for us to be able to teach it, you know, that's what you spend all those countless hours on, talking with Matt, grinding on Matt, hey, asking questions, making sure you know every single thing, watching as much tape as you possibly can. And Matt has a great library of all the different things that he's done in the past, and then kind of meshing some of the stuff that I've done in the past, which is a lot the same as him, and trying to make sure that we work all those intricacies out. And then it's just kind of changing the language, you know, just putting the language in my world from what it might have been called in the past to how he calls it now. So I think that's just one of those things we grind numerous hours to try to be able to become an expert in the limited time that we have.
Obviously, it's a far-flung staff that kind of come from every which way. Is the communication been on point from the start as far as everyone's on the same page? What you're telling one guy is the same thing as his position coaches?
I'll tell you, the way that this group has worked together, I think, has been awesome. I mean, being in that room, and everybody's very humble, but everybody has a strong opinion and has done a lot of different things that we can come together and try to do what's best for the Packers. And I think that's been one of the really good things. And just how we've all worked together in the meeting rooms, I just think it's been unbelievably efficient. And I think the guys are doing a great job from learning it, understanding what's expected of them, what's expected of their players, and everybody's just getting better every day also.
What did you know about Luke when you got here, and what have you kind of learned, you know, working with him the last 3 months now in that room?
So I met Luke a while ago through Alex Van Pelt. Alex Van Pelt, a dear friend of mine, and then Alex was with Luke. And so I feel like we kind of both got trained through Alex and kind of that world over there. And so I've known Luke for quite a while, just through my connection with Alex. And I mean, I love Luke. Luke's done a great job. I think he's another guy, very humble, but you know, he has a vision, and he was obviously did some good things here. And the good thing about Luke is he played quarterback and he coached the wide receivers. I think that's always so huge because he understands from the standpoint of the quarterbacks and what the wide receivers need to be, where the quarterback needs to throw the ball. So it's a great mesh. And also he understands what they've been going through in the past to be able to help us kind of transition that language for the wide receivers, the quarterbacks, to Matt, to me, and all that. So Luke's done a great job up to this point. It's been awesome.
Did you lobby Brian and the front office guys to bring Mercedes back for another year? What do you think he can bring, you know, at this point in his career?
Yes, obviously I'm a big fan of Mercedes. He did a great job when we were at Jacksonville, and missed him when he left. And you know, he's a true pro. I mean, he's one of those guys. You know, I've known him for years. My brother-in-law played with him at UCLA, so I've known him for quite a while. And you know, I think the number one thing is just how he prepares himself as a pro, and then for what he can do at the point of contact in the pass protection game. You know, for us, he was a threat in the red zone at Jacksonville, and I think all those things are things that, you know, we want to amp up. I think that's going to be some great things for him.
Two more, please. Circling back to Phil's question about the coaches learning the system. You've coached a long time, you're around your dad, so you know the game. But when it is a different system, how long before you feel like you'll be able to be really, like, know it as well as you knew the Jacksonville offense?
Well, I'll tell you, I want to say right now, I think it's one of those things, you know, I was lucky early in my career. I mean, I had, as a quality control guy, I drew about 9 different playbooks. And being with a guy like Coach Gruden, I mean, it's almost like advanced learning because of, you know, the amount of knowledge that he gives to everybody. So I think that when you've got all these systems and all these things and see all the different things and all the learning that you do from, you know, just my father, from the old school stuff, it's like, it's really just trying to organize it and organizing it in your head because, like I said, throughout the league, everybody's trying to accomplish a lot of the same things. There's obviously those intricacies that make people unique and different. And I think once again, it's those countless hours trying to push myself to be able to do it exactly how Matt wants it. So it is that one voice and corresponds. I feel like I have a very good handle of it now, and I know I'm never going to have that level. I think every day you have to always know you can get better and learn it more. I think Matt would say the same thing for himself, is that he can learn more and more. So I think it's going to be never ending, but it's going at a pretty good level for at least how I look at it.
Those quality control guys, you get him started talking about that job and he just can't, he just thinks it's the.
We feel like, we have a little bit of a club. There's a group of us that have been in that role for a while, and you learned a lot of football in that situation.
Mike for so long, for 13 years, I'm curious if a lot of head coaches do what Matt does, where yesterday he was playing, he was a pass rusher for a little while, he was a safety for a little while. Is that commonplace in your experience, or is that a little bit more hands-on than a lot of guys?
I would say Matt, I think, is definitely hands-on. I think that's, the whole key is, especially now that he's in the role that he's in, he's still got to be him. And that's why he's here. That's why we're all here. We got to be who we are. And I think that, everybody has their role that they want to fill and who they think that they are. And that's why you love Matt. Matt's the same guy I met about 5-6 years ago. He hasn't changed a bit. Besides now he's the head coach of the Packers. But every guy's different. Every head coach that I've worked with, all the different guys I've been around, they all kind of have their niche, how they want to do it.
You said Aaron Jones being a slasher, you think he's a good fit in this offense. What about a runner like Jamal, who's got that downhill, that bruising type of power style running? How does he fit in a wide zone offense?
I think it's one of those things is obviously there's that downhill mentality, and then the counter, I think for us, is to be able to get him to that outside zone world. It's only going to help that inside zone and all those other downhill type of plays. So I think any time you have that ability to have that threat of both, whenever you have a guy that just kind of does one thing, it's hard because that's how the defense, when he goes in, that's how they're going to want to stop it. So I think the more that you can do, the better. And I think something like this, like the outside zone world, is so powerful because it makes the defense cover the entire field. That's what's so awesome about this run style, and then the obvious play actions that come off of that. But I just think it's going to help both of their games up, and they're versatile guys. That's the cool thing. They can do a little bit of everything. And even Jamal, just from pass protection to out of the backfield, both those guys do a lot of good things.